right, we are recording. Hi, y'all. I am very excited this evening to be here with Dr. Gabriel Polley. I met him via our mutual friend, Chloe Warren. Chloe and Gabriel lived together in the UK many, many years ago. And he has agreed to chat with me today about his experience in 2020. He's currently living in Essex. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Cool. Thanks for chatting with me. Tell me, we'll start off, you know, I don't know that much about you, just a little bit. We just had a brief conversation, just what Chloe told me. Tell me a little bit about what your life was like before the pandemic. Where did you live? What were you doing?
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, since 2016, I started my PhD, which was at Exeter University in the southwest of the UK. My PhD was in Palestine Studies. I looked at the 19th century in Palestine, so the period of the Ottoman Empire. And I was doing that for the past 4 years, and I was just about finishing when the pandemic started. And I submitted my PhD in May, and I got my doctorate in July. So that was a big achievement, but it has left me, I think with PhD students, they always, I mean, academia is already, it's a very difficult field to get a foothold in. And I had just finished, and then the pandemic started. So I was always going to be in a bit of an in-between space, but it's now been extended a little bit by the situation.
And you just mentioned to me, this is a slightly surprise question, but you just told me that your partner is currently in Palestine.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So my girlfriend is Palestinian and lives in Palestine, and she has lived in the UK for some time, but for the last couple of years she's been in Palestine, and we have been normally meeting in Jordan. In March, when the world started going into lockdown and cases started being reported left, right and center, we were in Jordan, and we were really lucky actually, because we'd booked the time a few months in advance before we'd really heard of coronavirus. And then we went ahead, I went to Jordan, and things were closing down kind of around us. It was really in that week, and on the news we were seeing the world shutting down and going into panic, and we were really lucky in that was really the last kind of available possible time that we'd have been able to see each other, and we did see each other then, but in the most recent,
how bittersweet,
8-9 months. We've been apart.
Right. And is that the longest you guys have been apart from one another?
Well, I mean, we've been doing a long distance relationship for a few years, so we're kind of used to being apart from each other physically, but I mean, we'd always been able to meet up once every 6 months or so. But it's a little bit harder now, but hopefully we've gotten past the most of it, and we're looking forward to seeing each other again.
Laura, who I interviewed earlier this year, she's in Sydney, and she was talking about the challenges if she actually if she could actually even get back to Palestine, like the amount of challenges is very different than trying to get from Sydney to the UK or even Sydney to the US. There's a lot of getting through different places and stuff like that. I'll link to that because I'm sure you're aware of it, but it's and then on top of that, what I knew about when I thought we would be chatting about as well is Chloe mentioned that your mother is immunocompromised.
So my mum is 75 years old, and she doesn't really have anyone else apart from me. So I mean, she has friends and other family members, but seeing them is a risk at the moment. So when I came back from Jordan in March, I came back to my mum's place. She has diabetes as well, I should add, type 1. So she's been quite concerned about the situation. and the fact that you know, her age and that medical
Yeah.
condition make things a little bit more risky for her. So I've decided to you know, stick around and you know, help out with her. I mean, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's very cheerful, and
Yeah.
she's doing great. But I'm glad that I'm here
Mm,
to look after her.
right. So
Um,
you hadn't been living there before.
I've been living on and off. I've
Right.
been living kind of between
Mm-hmm.
Exeter and Essex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I was expecting to finish my PhD, start
Yeah.
applying for jobs, I mean, which I have been doing.
Yeah, yeah, sure,
But
sure.
you know, I was expecting to yeah, to move away and you know,
Right.
still be able to visit my mum from time to time, make
Yeah.
sure she's okay. But it hasn't worked out like that.
So so was it almost like you had to decide, am I never going to see my mom or am I going to spend a majority of my time?
Pretty
Yeah.
much, and I mean that's also been the decision with me wanting to go and see my friends as well,
Mm,
because I don't have that many. I mean, I've been away from here, you know, for
mm-hmm.
most of the time since I was 18, so I don't really have that many friends in the local area,
Yeah.
and to see my friends in the UK, let alone you know, my partner, to go and visit her in Jordan. But to see my friends, I would have to use public transport.
Yeah.
I would have to travel, and there'd be risks associated with that. So I have really been stuck here for most of the time. I say
Right.
stuck. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's nice. It's in the countryside,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's very pleasant. It's lovely for
What is it? I
walking,
don't know where
cycling.
Essex is. What is it? How far can
Yeah.
you? Yeah, for us
Sure.
Americans
Yeah,
and Australians
it's
that.
of course, of course. It's close to London.
Okay.
So I mean, in you know, in happier times,
Hmm.
from my house, I could have been, you know, in central London pretty much in an hour.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the town nearby where there's a train station, it's just about half an hour on the train into
Okay.
London. So you know,
But
there's
none of that. None of that.
but no,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
mean, it could be a million miles away
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And where it is, you know, it's close to London, but it is also very rural. So
Hmm.
I live in a very small village,
Okay.
just
Right.
surrounded by fields and you
Okay.
know, forests and nice
Right.
things.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
What is so that's where you've been since you got back from
hmm
Jordan,
yeah,
basically? Right.
hmm
Right. And you've wrapped up
yeah,
your PhD during that time, which I guess you were able to do from home.
yeah,
And has it
yeah.
been a lot of like dinners with mom and walks in the countryside and
Yeah, I mean, it has. It
hmm.
has. I mean, I feel, you know, I feel like my PhD, it was great to get it done, and you know, I really imagined it differently. I imagined
Hmm.
that I would have my viva, which is the final oral examination for a PhD,
Uh-huh.
and then I would be, you know, down the pub having drinks with
Yeah, of
friends, you know,
course.
having a good
Yeah.
time, and then you know, hope, and then maybe you know, my girlfriend coming to my graduation ceremony, but you
Yeah.
know, none of that's happened.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. What
so mm,
what is I talked to a nurse in Scotland. I sent you that link,
yeah,
and that was such an interesting experience. I'm sure your experience is slightly less
hmm
kind of chaotic and intense.
yeah.
But I have, and then I talked to a researcher in London. So tell me a little bit. Has it been on lockdown the whole time? Like clearly, you've made the
hmm
decision to stay very tightly, you and your mom in that
yeah.
unit. But has the rest of, what is it like outside?
um well, I mean, from the start of the pandemic in the UK,
Mm,
really, it has been quite chaotic,
mm-hmm,
and you know, I'm by no means an expert,
mm,
and I'm a person
of
who's, you
course,
know,
it's just your
naturally,
yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I'm a person who's naturally critical of the government that we have in
mm-hmm,
the UK at the moment.
yeah,
So I'm inclined to think that they've done a terrible job. And I mean,
right,
it has been a disaster
yeah,
in the UK. I think.
yeah,
I mean, my impression is that, you know, people in different parts of the world have been seeing what's happening in the UK and
Yeah.
America and these supposedly advanced and developed countries,
Mm,
and it's been chaotic.
yeah.
It's been very difficult.
I
And
haven't been watching too closely, but I was quite intrigued when I saw that Boris Johnson had it. I was watching
yeah,
that quite closely and how he
yeah,
kind of handled it. I feel like maybe
yeah.
he started to take it a bit more seriously after that, but then I saw he's been
Oh,
exposed
yeah.
to it again or something like that recently.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he's gone back into lockdown.
yeah.
But
Um, I mean, I think like in most places in the summer,
Hmm.
things started to calm down a bit, but there was never, I mean, you know, being here and really not being able to see my friends. I've seen some friends once in the past,
Really?
9 months,
Oh my
um, and
gosh.
normally I would have this kind of fear of missing out, but
Yeah.
honestly, there's not much to miss out on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
it
Yeah.
kind of almost almost makes it better, the situation that I'm in that nothing really has been happening. In the summer, things calmed down a bit, but yeah, it's back to how it was before again.
Right,
So
right. And yeah, because they just recently went into that was all of the UK, was it? I saw that Chloe was mentioning that her family was having their last meal together
yeah.
as and
I
now
mean, it's a bit different because in the different parts of the UK, we have different governments. So I think Wales was in a lockdown and it came out of a
okay,
lockdown.
right.
And Scotland was not in lockdown, but, you know, it was starting to go into lockdown
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, I think. But yeah, in England, the whole of England.
Mm-hmm.
So even in areas like where I went,
Yeah,
did my PhD, Exeter, which is
yeah,
in Devon in the southwest.
yeah,
It was very low there, you know,
yeah.
very low coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, most of the coronavirus that was occurring in that area was at my university
Oh, really?
because of the student situation,
Right, right.
which is another terrible thing. I'm really
Yeah,
glad I finished my
yeah.
PhD, and I feel sorry for the current generation of students having
Me
to pay
too.
£9,000, which is the tuition fees, about $15,000, I think that is, just to be
Yeah,
virtually locked in their rooms.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I feel sorry for them, but yeah, there was not much coronavirus in that area of the UK,
Mm-hmm.
but the
Mm-hmm.
whole of the England has been
Mm-hmm.
shut down,
So do you
and it will
feel?
be for a couple of
Go ahead.
weeks.
Go ahead. And what?
Yeah,
Sorry.
and it will be for another couple
Yeah.
of weeks.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to, if you don't mind, to elaborate. So you said you've been a
Mhm.
bit critical
Yeah.
of the government. So do you think that this lockdown is overdue, or what? Can you just elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, my instinct is that it was overdue,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I think that quite often the government in the UK has put business and the economy ahead of lives, and I know, you know, it's not really a zero-sum game because there's huge hardship as well with small business
Mm-hmm.
owners and workers losing their
Mm-hmm.
jobs. Um, and there have been measures to support them. So, you know, it's not exactly a zero-sum game, but I do feel that, not enough care has been taken. And I mean, we should have learned from the first wave of the pandemic,
Yeah.
which was, you know, a disaster because the UK kept on going for another 2 weeks when
Yeah.
other places were going into lockdown. And,
Yeah.
you know, the UK was, and as you mentioned, Boris Johnson, you know, he got coronavirus and then he started taking it a bit
Yeah.
seriously. But I don't think those lessons had really been learned.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
we're
think
currently in a difficult place.
I find it so interesting when I look at the US and the UK compared to Australia because really, if you're an
Mm,
Australian citizen, leaving isn't an option. To come over
yeah,
here could cost lots and lots of money. You basically must be an Australian citizen.
yeah,
And I think my brother just went to South America and came back last week. And I think in the UK, they're still having, they were, maybe not anymore, but they were having flights between Europe and stuff like that as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So,
yeah. There were
yeah,
lots of places, and I mean, when I came back from Jordan in March, there was nothing. I mean, that, to be fair, that was just at the very start. But
Yeah.
you know, there was no mention
Yeah.
of coronavirus, and that was at a point when it was at the start. But
Yeah.
suddenly, the world was taking it
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
and it felt like the UK was taking it less seriously.
Right. Right.
And it's felt like that ever since.
When you go to the shops and stuff like that in Essex, are people wearing masks? Is that a mandatory
Yeah.
thing?
I mean, I haven't actually been shopping that much.
Mm.
We've been mainly getting online deliveries and such. I have been out and about a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to my local town, Chelmsford, and I went to Cambridge as well, which is nearby,
Mm-hmm.
to see my friends there. And yeah, people were wearing masks. Most people were. I mean, I think like in America and like everywhere, there are people who don't.
Mm-hmm.
But
Do
I
you think there's like in the U.S. there's like my parents and everyone tells me about a bit of a culture wars thing. Whether like, do you think
yeah,
that exists over there as well, sort of?
yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the UK, it's a bit quieter. It's a bit
Mm-hmm.
kind of slightly calmer. But I mean, yeah, no, there definitely are these people.
Maybe that's the British influence. Maybe they're full of rage, but they're being very
I
proper
think
about
so.
it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's kind of it's not as you know, outright
Yeah.
outlandish when
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, for example,
Yeah.
the Trump rallies
Yeah.
or whatever in the States. You know,
That
that's not
was a
quite how we do
stereotype,
it.
a sweeping stereotype, but I just envision that for some reason.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of like
yeah. No, but
probably a good
we do
chap.
have it
This
here.
is a big problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
interesting, interesting. And so it's maybe not as people screaming, but definitely a bit of rage about it. Has there been a lot of protests?
There have been,
Uh-huh.
yeah, there have been in London and I think in Manchester as well, in the north of the UK.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you know, it's not on the TV. It's something that you
Oh,
can kind of you pick up on, you know, if you follow social media.
right.
Um,
Okay.
like my mum isn't really aware that these things are happening, and then
Okay.
I say, oh, look at this video of these you know, these crazies or whatever.
Right. Okay.
So it's kind of fringe,
Mm.
but it's definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the kind of visible element, like the
Mm-hmm.
protests,
Yeah.
is the tip of the iceberg, because I think
Okay.
there's a much larger. I mean, it's going to particularly come out when there's a vaccine,
Yeah.
and you know, there will be
Mm.
kind of. I mean, when you say anti-vaxxer, you think of some kind of very active person who's speaking out about it, but there will be people who just don't want to take the vaccines, who don't
Yeah.
trust it, who maybe
Yeah.
don't shout about it. But it's,
Mm.
I think there was on the London news the other night, it said something like a quarter of people in London said that they wouldn't take a vaccine. So we're talking big numbers here, who are
Oh
not
my
necessarily
gosh.
vocal. They're not necessarily going
Right.
to the demonstrations, but when the vaccine comes round, they will, you know, they'll emerge, I think.
But how does that make you feel as someone who's just drastically altered his life and your mother
Uh,
feel, like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's silly. I think it's difficult to, I'm lost for words, really.
yeah,
It's difficult to get into that, the kind of headspace of these
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But I guess, you know, people like their freedom, and they like the freedom to disagree and to be a bit different, or to
Yeah,
have these.
it's like I don't know. For me, I've traveled so much in my life, and it just taking vaccines for different places I
Mm,
want to go has just been like, this is how you go places. I can
yeah,
perhaps see a little bit of hesitation if it's just been introduced and people worry that it's been rushed. But
yeah,
also, I want to go, like, I feel like and also it's interesting to me that a lot of millennials that I like grew up with, some of them are like hearing stuff about not trusting a vaccine. And it's like,
yeah.
we all went to parties together where we took all kinds of things that we had.
Yeah,
Interesting that all of a
yeah,
sudden something that's been like clinically tested and like heaps of money has been poured into, and then at the same time I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know what I mean? You took something at a party and it came from someone's backpack, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been speaking to another friend about this actually, who, and we were talking about the fact that a lot of this, you know, resistance and distrust and conspiracy theories,
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, it comes out of counterculture, and I think that's why kind of surprising amount of, you know, young people have bought into it, and they've bought into it for reasons that you know, I'm kind of sympathetic to, in that, you know, I don't trust pharmaceutical companies either. I know about the horrible things they've done.
Yeah.
I don't think that, you know, pharma should be run for profit in that sense.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this is, you know, a conspiracy to control the world and inject us with microchips or whatever, you know?
No, I agree. And I, you know, and that was one, and I guess for me, one thing that's been really challenging as this has gone on is I've been seeing, like, my friends on Facebook in the States, I've been seeing more and more people I know be affected by it. And just as, and I guess for me, it's like, this is the reality. The longer that there's not a vaccine, unless you do like Australia and New Zealand has done, you're going to see these types of things come up. So I believe that it's real. And I was going to ask you, do you know anyone who's had it?
Yeah, I do. I kind of, I suppose that I feel lucky, and that, you know, not many of my friends and family have been highly affected by it. There was one person who I knew, who was more of a friend of a friend, who passed away quite early on.
Right.
So that was kind of a wake-up call, I guess, to you know, how serious this was. And I mean, I've heard stories from other friends. I had some friends in Egypt who got it, and they had a real horror story, because it's a couple, and, you know, she's pregnant with her first baby, and you know, they told me a real horror story, and also how kind of grim it is, you know, the experience of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not in any hurry to experience that myself.
Of course.
If I was not, you know, I have to admit, if I was not staying with my mother at the moment, I'd probably be somewhat less careful. I'd probably be going out and, you know, seeing friends occasionally, trying to keep a bit social distance, but maintaining some kind of social life. You know, not just online. But yeah, no, I mean, it's serious. We need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of this thing.
I agree. And I've been following it up. I've just started kind of, I feel like I was just so kind of engrossed in the US elections. And now it's like, now that that has passed, I'm able to kind of go back to thinking about this pandemic and like what the effects are. But it does seem promising, but it's also, I think it's still in early days. Like there's still probably won't even, it's just going to be released. I'll check this, but I believe it's just going to be released in the US first, and then but it might not even be till like mid of next year or something like that. So it's still like a long way to go.
And you know, I also have to think, because seeing my partner involves traveling, and that is to you know, less developed part of the world. You know, when is she going to get it? When is Jordan and Palestine going to, when are they going to consider that they're safe as well? And, you know, it's an area of the world where there's refugees, you know, Syrian refugees. And currently I know that the vaccines that are being announced, they're going to go to the most wealthy parts of the world first. And that, you know, that's awful to think about. So yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. And also looking at the way how you know, Britain and America and some other countries have handled it up to now, I don't really have confidence that they're going to be able to roll out a big program of vaccination. I mean, they're talking about months, you know, December, January. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
This is another bit of a surprise question, but are you prepared to just kind of hang out there and hunker down for as long as you have to, basically?
Yeah, I am. I'm a patient person. I'm a patient person in general. and I've been okay. You know,
Yeah.
I can't really complain.
Mm.
Well, I can, but I mean, yeah, I feel more fortunate in that I'm quite a patient person. I'm able to keep in touch with my partner and my friends, like online as we're talking now.
Mm.
I'm able to. I'm a freelancer as well, so I'm able
Oh,
to do
okay.
some kind of freelancing work.
What do you
You know,
do?
from home. I do some journalism, so
Oh,
I write some
really?
articles from time to time.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, I'm also a bit of an editor, so I do proofreading and editing for different clients around the world. So this is something that I can do from home. So
We
I'm
might
kind
just
of
put a
lucky in
plug
that way.
if you're looking
Oh
for an
yeah,
editor
yeah,
and
sure,
a
sure.
writer. Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
sometimes, yeah, you have to send me your rates. My editors
yeah.
tend to be my mates, and they get a bit tired of reading my stuff sometimes.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, I mean, I'm always happy to,
Although Chloe
get more
will
people
see
on
that and
board.
she'll be like, "No, send them to me. We can share it. We can
Yeah,
no." But that's good to
yeah.
know. That's good to know. And
Mhm.
writing is one of the best. I can
Yeah.
vouch for doing it from home. It's one of the best. There's
Hmm.
a lot of other careers you can't do very easily from
Yeah.
home. But
Yeah, for sure.
cool,
I mean,
cool.
and I will be looking up. I'm applying for jobs,
Yeah, yeah.
and so far without success.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
when I find one, maybe it'll also be work from home.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, currently I am prepared. I'm prepared.
yeah,
Just being able to go and see my partner is the only thing I care
yeah.
about,
Oh,
quite frankly.
oh,
But we're
oh.
doing fine. We are doing
Yeah,
fine. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
very grateful for that too.
I won't take up too much more of your time, Gabriel. I was curious. Chloe told me that you're an activist.
Yeah.
If you could
Um, hmm Yeah,
explain. Yeah.
sure. So there's a lot of causes which are very close to my heart. So for example, yeah, Palestine and the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I try and write about that.
Mm-hmm.
Also environmental causes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel I mean, I have like a love-hate relationship with flying in particular, in that I need to do it to see my partner for the time being, but long term, hopefully, of course not.
Mm.
But also, the fact that I've not flown, and that most people haven't flown in the past few months, I think is probably a good thing.
I'm so
Um,
intrigued with this actually. Last year I took a train to an ecotourism conference and
mhm.
and then I flew back, and I also thought it was funny that everyone was flying to this ecotourism thing
Yeah.
because I think travel is one of the most eye-opening amazing things, but the way that we currently do it is so wrong.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
I traveled
absolutely.
so much last year. I like so many fossil fuels were
Hmm.
burnt on my
Yeah.
behalf. It's a real conundrum. I think
Yeah.
it'll be really
Yeah,
interesting to
for
see
sure.
how this year has
Yeah.
lowered flight
Yeah.
emissions actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I totally agree with you.
yeah,
And yeah, something else. Also, I mean, it's been an incredible year. Apart from the coronavirus situation, with the Black Lives Matter
yeah.
movement,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's something that I also felt very strongly about. And
Mhm.
as a white person, I felt this is important for me to show my support and to be
Mhm.
an ally. And
Mhm.
I saw the demonstrations, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, I would love to be there. So I've had to kind of limit my activism to
Mhm.
writing, posting on social media,
Mhm.
making donations.
Mhm.
But it's not felt right, and I'm looking forward to the moment when I can, be on the streets again,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
whatever struggles. And I think there will be. I think. Yeah, I mean, we had a plus with Donald being kicked out of the White House, but there's still a long way to go, a very, very long way to
Yeah.
go. And I think this whole coronavirus situation has made things much more difficult, and so
Mhm.
many people are gonna go through hard times in the
Yeah.
next few years because of
Yeah.
the results of this. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being able to feel more fully involved, and to
Mhm.
get to take to the streets, and yeah, and make our voices heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And writing is a big thing too, you know. I mean, writing,
Yeah.
you know, I think sometimes there's so many different ways to try to affect change, and you have to kind of come up with the most effective way that with your own mental health and your own
Yeah.
restrictions sort of. So
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see some of the things you wrote. Maybe you can send me something and I can include it
Sure.
in the
Sure.
blurb about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more last question, Gabriel, and then I will let you go. But
Mhm.
have you found, you know, it sounds like it's been a really challenging year for you, and I'm so sorry that you're in this situation. And I think it's lovely that you're kind of being there with your mother, and I'm sorry that you can't be there with your partner. But
Mm.
has there been any positives? Have there been any silver linings?
Well, I, um, yeah, I mean, I just live my life, and um, I mean, I, as I said, you know, I completed my PhD. That's a great
Yeah,
achievement.
yes,
Yeah, and otherwise, I've been enjoying nature.
yeah.
I've been enjoying the place where I live, where I've been staying, um, and trying to move on to the next point. I mean, it's
Hmm.
given a kind of space, I suppose, for reflection and for thinking about where I want to go, and for just trying to get things together. I might be writing a book based on my PhD.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I've been in discussion with a publisher. So it has given time for those kinds of projects for me personally. Um, I'm ready to move on,
Yeah.
but I don't know if the situation is. But yeah, I mean, the truly the worst thing is being separated from my girlfriend, and
Oh,
everything else I can take, you
yeah,
know, with a
yeah,
smile.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but
I can't
yeah,
imagine. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
as they do say in Palestine and Jordan and the rest of the Middle East, inshallah, which means God willing,
Yeah,
you know, things will get better. So
yeah,
I just think,
yeah.
yeah, inshallah,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
Well, that's probably a lovely kind of way to wrap it up this evening or this morning for you,
Yeah.
Gabriel. So thank you so much for your time today. I
No,
really
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're welcome.